when people watch this, one thing as I get older, as I get older, I'm way more blunt than I used to be. And one thing you may not like what I say, but you will understand what I say. And the
Mm.
issue I'm having right now as a man, and especially as a black man, that we have left God. I got to be honest about that. We have left things that bring structure. Like we reject structure. Let's take it out of the religious setting. Okay? I have employees, they resist structure. They want to do what they want to do. Truth of the matter is, people want to work at home because they don't have no structure at home, right? You can do what you want to do when
Right.
you at home, and you can still do your job per se. I believe right now, as men, we do have to take a stance about what we actually believe. If I actually believe something, why do I believe it? Where do I get it from? And what got me about this definition of faith is as it says complete trust or confidence in something. Complete. Okay. Because it's important that it be complete. So, like I said, if we all sit down and I put a Webster's dictionary in front of me and in between all three of us, for the most part, we would agree and we wouldn't doubt that the meanings of these words are what they're supposed to be. I'm talking about the average person, right? If I put a Bible, if I put the Torah, if I put the other book, the Muslim book. What is it called? I used to
The
be a Muslim.
Quran.
The
The
Quran.
Quran.
If we put all these books right here, now we're going to start to debate these books, right? Even to the extent that if the Quran says that a man needs to be faithful to his wife, I'm just saying hypothetically, because
Hmm.
we see a preacher who's unfaithful to his wife, we'll doubt that when that book says that we're supposed to be faithful to ours, now we'll say, well, he not doing it, so I'm not going to do it. So now we don't believe the book because of the action of the man. Y'all get what I'm saying? And this is what's
Hmm.
aggravating me because Steve mentioned role model. I agree with him. You're a role model whether you want to be or not. People are either going to follow you the right way or they going to follow you the wrong way. I don't care if you talk. I believe what you talking. I believe people follow what you do. They follow who you are. And I believe that because we have left faith, we have left religion, we have also left manhood. We have also left the sanctity of marriage. I'm not talking about in its perfection because, again, the foundation of Christianity is we expect the men who teach us about God to be perfect like God, which is false. The Bible does not even teach that. But
No.
our expectation of how close a man should be to God is the reason why we can't believe that that man is with God, even though there's an aspect of him that's not like God. Do y'all get what I'm saying? The human
Hmm.
part of that person tends to make people God aversive. They don't want to be with God because of the man, and it causes them to keep looking outward instead of looking inward. And this is what I have an issue with because now role models are rappers.
Mm.
Role models are entrepreneurs, which is not which is not a problem. Okay, role models are women who dress half naked. Role models are women who show their breasts and who show their booties and they make money off that. We live in an age where the more you show, the more you grow. Y'all feel me, right? That's just where we are. And then to compound that, people don't want to believe in faith and religion because of the color of the people that they assume presented religion to black people. And y'all know what I'm talking about. That's a whole nother discussion. All I'm
Mm.
saying is what we have done is we have, whenever you leave something, you have to be going to something. So the question is, is if we've left faith and religion, what are we going to? That is my question for men. Men who look like me, white men, black men, Puerto Rican, Filipino, blue, Martian from the moon. If we as men are leaving faith and religion and God, what are we walking to? What actually are we going to? So for men who don't believe in God, who don't believe in religion, who don't believe in faith, my question would be, what do you believe in then? I would have to
So
ask that question, correct?
yes,
you,
you're very good in asking that question. You have to ask that question. It's where we are. So we're faced with it. So I got a few points piggybacking
you,
off of what you just said and even some stuff Garrett has already said as well. One thing that he said before he stopped talking was his story, his testimony. You can argue the Bible all you want. You can argue the Quran. You can argue religion as a whole all you want. But the one thing you cannot do is you cannot argue my story. It's my
yes,
experience. You cannot argue that. You can't refute it.
that's right.
You can have an opinion about it, but you can't argue it at all. You can't. With that being said,
Yeah.
you mentioned people don't want to follow people once they see them do something wrong. You found out that the pastor is sleeping with one of the women in the church, and now you want to disregard God. God didn't sleep with that lady. That man
Right.
did.
Right, you right. I feel you.
So what are you here for? Were you here for God or were you here for him? Because if you were here for God, then you sit your butt down because you're not going to find a perfect place on heaven where something isn't happening. I mean, I'm sorry, you're not going to find a perfect
All right.
place
We
on
got you.
earth
Yeah.
where something like that isn't happening. You have to be able to separate though the person from the action. When somebody wrong, this is why the Bible teaches about forgiveness, because somebody is going to wrong you and you don't write them off when they wrong you. You have to forgive and forget. And even with the forgiving and forget it, he gives us roles to how that looks. You know, your
Mm-hmm.
mama, your mama, what say you go outside and you do something wrong, you come back in, you came in too late, your mama give you a whooping. You cry, you upset, you pout, and you angry. And then what happened? You get hungry. And when you get hungry, where do you go? To your mama. You're not
That's
never
right.
going to your mama again.
That's
Yeah, you're not
that's
never
after
going.
you wish she get hit by a truck when she walk
Uh,
across the street. Then you take it back.
Oh
wish it,
my
wish it,
God.
wish it all you want. But when you
Right.
get hungry, you finna go right
I
to her.
got you.
So
I
you
got
you
you. I'm
don't you
just
don't
kidding.
leave
Yeah,
her. And what we got to realize is that you have to separate that. There are people in your life that are going to do wrong things. That's why we are all in the same boat. So when they do that thing, and think about it, when you do something, what do you want? You want forgiveness.
Yep.
that's right.
It may not come immediately, but you're going to want to reconcile. We are reconcilers by just the way that we are by nature. We may not know how, and we may have gotten far away from it because of course everybody thinks that you can just cut people off. Everybody's so quick to cut people off when they do something wrong, but you will end up on earth with all of these people lonely if you didn't learn
Come
how to
on.
forgive, if you didn't learn how
You
to
right.
reconcile, if you didn't learn how to come back. So we have to learn to separate the people from the action. Now, if that person practices that as a lifestyle and that's all they do, we're talking about a different story. But we're talking about these one-off
Right.
situations where somebody makes a mistake and somebody's wrong. They even make a couple of mistakes because we, of course, make a couple of mistakes. So that's one thing. And then role models. You know what's crazy about role models? And you mentioned it earlier in the conversation. One thing that role models have is confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it may be confidence in some BS, it may not
Some
even be
BS.
something that they should even be confident in, but
All
they
right.
are confident and we don't realize that we are attracted to that confidence.
You right. You right.
And we have to understand that you have to test the thing behind who it is that we find ourselves to be role models is. Yeah, the rapper looks attractive because they got all of the money and they got all of this and they live in a lifestyle that seems to be what we want. But what's crazy is that we got to realize if you dig a little bit, 90% of them are not even living what they even talking about. You got so
Mm,
many rappers that have liquor and weed and everything like that in their music videos. Come to find out, these are some of the healthiest dudes ever. They realized that
right.
it wasn't adding any value to them, but they play along and play into that, but they don't even do this stuff. So it's just like, but because we don't do any digging, because we're sheep, like we talked about, nope, we just gravitate towards it. So that's one thing, and then I'll make my final point. You asked, where do we go from here, Mikhail? You wrapped it up. This was the last question you asked. Where do we go from here? The Bible predicted this. So it already is spoken about. This is the crazy thing to me is so many people will argue the Bible and it's this and it's that and it was written by this person and they took some pages out and they did this and they did that. It may all be true, but what you cannot do is look your eyes up to what is going on today and not think that this book from all these years ago isn't speaking to some of the very things that we're going through.
Yeah,
And we are here. We
I
are
got you.
vain. We are in love with ourselves. We are in love with our appearance. We are in love and all of these materialistic things that have no value to who we really are. But it's going to get worse and worse to the point where we're just like this. We're going to be backbiting. We're going to be, pulling people down and tearing people apart, all because we think that that's how we gain. And somebody else alluded to this earlier too. Somebody mentioned comparing. We have you said it, Mikhail, when you was talking about, oh, well, that pastor did this and that pastor did this, so I'm not going to do it. Why are you comparing anyway? Why are you comparing yourself to other? The Bible tells us not to do that. Even we either want something that somebody else has, or we either want to do something that somebody else is doing, or when they do wrong we think, well, since they did this, well, I can go do what I was doing. Stop comparing anyway. Just we have to stop with the comparisons. We have to use it as a baseline to guide and sharpen iron, like you mentioned before, at the beginning of it. But we have to stop this whole comparison thing to is that's the reason why I get to do what I want to do because they doing what they want to do. That doesn't even make
Mhm.
sense. It makes no
You
sense at
dope,
all.
bro. You dope. I
Yeah,
I ain't really
yeah,
yanking your chain.
definitely.
You dope. You dope. You
You so
got some
you,
insight.
you've said this
You
like two
dope.
or three times, but I must say this so everybody else knows that I agree that I am dope, but I was dope because I was built by a bunch of dope people. I saw
Mm.
people that were doing what I wanted to do, that had what I wanted to have. And not only did they have those things, they loved me. They poured into me. They made me who I am. And I attribute everything that I am to God because He introduced me to those people. And then they put me on a path and they helped me see who I was. And I just burst forth with all of this. And this is not boastful or bragging or arrogant. I give all credit to Him, and then I give all credit to those people. And all I've done is I embraced it. And now, like we just got to talking about it, I'm confident in it. I'm confident in
Yep.
Him. I'm confident in who He created me to be. And now I share that and give that liberty to anybody else because we all need to be who we are fully so that everybody can walk in their own liberty and their own freedom and their own fulfillment and their own peace.
I'll get your autograph next
Yeah.
time I see you. I'm gonna come up to your store. Gary, what you got? What you got?
You know what? I'm gonna take it from the angle of you both have alluded to role models and where a man going to get their morality or their moral direction from. And I think where we are now, the and even in the conversation, the word idol worship really just popped into my head. And it's like we're at a point now where people idolize so many different things. And we got the internet, we got social media, people had their 15 minutes of fame, things can go viral, people try to emulate things that go viral so they can go viral. You got your stars, you got your rappers, you got your actors. I mean, it's almost like sensory overload with all the various things that are thrown in our faces day in and day out. And so people tend to worship and make idols of things that they desire to become or to be, right? And I think those things have replaced God in so many instances to where people think, well, if I'm like this person, that must mean I'm doing something right. And I think somebody alluded to the fact earlier, like just because you see a person in a certain, I think it was Stephen, even just because you see a person at a certain place, you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. You don't know what kind of struggles they have. You don't even know if that's who they really are because of the fact that you could betray yourself to be the polar opposite of who you truly are because of technology now. Um, so I just believe that, idol worship is the struggle right now. I think people have to really be able to step back and find out what's true. And I know that's difficult, but when it comes down to truth, like I almost feel like truth is like I don't know, like a whisper sometimes. It's like you know it's there, it
Mhm.
exists, but you got to listen real hard and you got to pay attention to be able to know it when you see it. In a world where it's not a whole lot of truth that's being pushed to the forefront, it's a lot of lies and deceptions to try to throw you off track. But idol worship is just that word. I don't, it just kind of came to my mind, and that's what I think is the distraction of where we are right now, and trying to move people out of the way and move these things that we worship out of the way to really try to get a direct relationship with God, Most High, the Lord. Whatever for some people is different, but moving those things that we can put in an idolatry or in an idol position out of the way.
Yeah, and y'all said a bunch of stuff. I got stuff written on this paper. We could have a whole show only about some of the stuff that I know he writing on that paper and I'm writing on this paper.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna touch on a couple of things y'all said. Then we're gonna wrap up. I'm gonna give y'all some last comments, and then we just gonna schedule another show. We live in an era of my truth, but I'm not ERA. I mean ERROR, meaning that we live in the days where people want to have their own truth. And we're starting to organize society against around everybody's individual truth, meaning there's
Mm.
no objective truth anymore. Everything is subjective. I feel this way, and I want you to respect that I feel that way. Okay. I'm offended. We're legislating offending people. Like we're
Yeah.
legislating people feeling uncomfortable. And we have to watch it because there has to be, if you're gonna have faith, you have to have a standard. And I will believe this to the day I die. And I don't even meet up to these standards like I should, but I'm not moving the goalposts because I can't kick the field goal right. Because I have to work on my kicking. I got to get to the touchdown, but I refuse to move the goalposts because I'm not measuring up. Because that is what's leading men astray. That we have to have an objective standard. We have to. We have to have an objective standard. Without an objective standard, there's nothing for me to measure who I am against. So Steve has confidence. He's living his life a certain way. Whoever is watching him, they have to measure how they live against how he lives. And if our life is organized the right way, I have people who live not as good as me. I have people who live like me, and I have people who live better than me. Because God designs it so you have some people who can push you, some people will affirm you, and then some people will show you where you came from, that you have gotten better. So God needs me to be a role model of him, an ally to him, and a mentee to him. And I think that that's
Mm.
what, but there has to be some common thread between all of us that knit us all together. And I believe this thing about my truth, like it's a difference between your experience and objective truth. Everybody can have their own experience based on the same truth. Okay, you get what I'm saying? Like we can't pick and choose. And when I'm talking about manhood, I mean that too. Like I need you as my brother to offend me. I need you to get in my face. I need you to make me uncomfortable. I need you to challenge me to come higher. And that's not always going to happen because you agree with me. Okay. As long as you let me live in my truth, it can also become my misery if you know that that truth
Mm.
is actually a lie. If I see you walking into a burning building and I'm walking the other way, I'm going to say, bro, don't you know that building burning? Now, if you keep walking, I need to plead with you, bro. You gonna burn to death. My mother is from Maui, right? Let me give y'all a story. My mother's from Maui, the island that burned. She just left there today to go there today. Did you know that when that island was on fire, it started burning? The reason why the people on Front Street, because I know the area very well, because I visited there a lot as a kid. The reason why people didn't get away because there was a person of authority at the end of the street saying you can't go down this street because they're down power lines. And because they listened to authority that told them the wrong thing, they burned to death or they drowned.
Mm.
The people that went against that authority because they knew the truth was to leave, they survived. And I can kind of compare that to what we're talking about now. It's too many brothers telling you, don't leave this area. It's a down power line. And a lot of us just flat out burning and drowning now. And that is the reason why I'm so passionate about what I'm talking about. And I can't say there's some things about my walk that I need to get right, but I know I need to get them right. And I know that there's a standard that I got to live up to, right? And I put on here, who we follow is where we go. That's where you go. If you follow nobody, you go there. So for the people who don't want to follow anybody, my brother used to always tell me all the time. He passed away. He was very wise. He was younger than me. He said, "Man, you do not know you going nowhere until you get there." I said, what? He said, "This is before I changed my life and all that." He said, "Man, you don't know you going nowhere until you get there." Bro, that's heavy.
Wow.
That's
Extremely.
heavy.
Yeah.
Like you didn't,
Yeah.
that nowhere is an actual destination, but you don't know it's nowhere until you get there. And the last thing I got to talk about this, forgive, because you said forgive and forget. And I do agree with that, but I think God wants you to forgive and remember. Because if you forget, you ain't forgiving nobody. You gotta remember. This is not a correction. It's just me saying that you know what? There are certain things God, and I do you agree with you with this. God will allow people to forget some things because they can't move on if they don't. That's why he allows that's why he allows a human being to repress certain memories,
Mhm.
and they'll be uncovered when he's ready to uncover them so that you're ready to deal with them. It's a thing called repression. Well, we had that stuff in a deep dark place, and it's just there because he allows you to temporarily forget, because if you remember, you're going to go crazy. But I want us to understand, and we're having this conversation because black man, black men, shoot, white men, any kind of man, if we don't find a way to agree on a standard, faith, religion, or some standard that causes us to navigate the world, that we have complete trust in. Because if you don't trust it completely, you won't follow it completely, right? Like I cannot trust it completely. I mean, I can trust it completely and mess up, but because I mess up, I'm still trying to get to that. Y'all understand? I'm still trying to get to that level. But when you don't even believe it completely, you're gonna have a problem changing directions. If you're going 75 miles an hour on 57, if you want to go the other way, you got to literally get off and get
Yep.
on at another place. You can't stop that car on the dime and make a U-turn. Okay. So for last comments, this is what I want us to do. Tell men that may watch this, why should they have, why should faith or religion, you can use whatever verbiage you want to, why should that be the cornerstone of a man's existence? Why should that be the cornerstone of a man's existence? And we'll have other shows, but why do we as men need faith? And I'm just going to use religion because it was in the first question. Why do we need religion and faith to be the cornerstone of our lives? Anyone?
Um, I'll jump in. I think faith is our compass. I think it points us in the direct. It helps us see the direction. It points us in the direction that we should go. And as leaders of our homes, of our communities, or wherever we may, or of ourselves, we need to have direction. We need to have stability. Um, we need to be able to handle the various stresses and challenges that we meet in our day-to-day lives. And I believe that faith gives us the tools that we need to be able to do that and to be able to function and be healthy, both spiritually, mentally, emotionally, and physically. I'll add all four of those in there. And just help us to walk in the right direction. And I'll just say it like this: it's one step at a time. Faith is something. I love hip hop. Andre 3000 is one of my favorites. he
Come
has a
on, I'm
line. He
sitting here
says faith.
rhyming right now on this
He
paper. Go
he
ahead.
he says faith is what you make it. And I won't end it with the rest of what he said, but faith is what you make it, right? So either you can make it nothing because you have no faith, or you can make it this great profound experience that leads you into becoming this new person that you didn't even see yourself being maybe years ago. But because you kept having faith and you kept taking those steps, one foot in front of the other, it's a journey, it's a process. You can look back 20 years from now, 30 years from now, 40 years from now, man, wow, look at how far I've come. Look at the people that God has blessed me to affect in a positive way because I decided to have faith. It's so many people that are connected to your faith journey that you don't even realize, you've affected. You may never know. You may encounter people that see you do something or hear you say something, and it may be a testimony of your faith, and it could totally change their lives. And they will become a new and different person. So you planting seeds with your faith, you planting seeds all the way, all along your journey. And hopefully, prayerfully, somebody will get something out of it and grow from it and be a better person from it, a better man.
That's dope.
One of the great
Steve.
things, not even great things, but one of the things that I like to do when I talk to people, I do a lot of this. I ain't talk about me. I'm certified to teach anger management. I have so many relationships that I made talking to people about men, women, children, married, unmarried, unsaved, saved. It doesn't matter. Talk to a lot of different people. And God's gift to me is to see people functioning at their healthiest, mentally, financially, emotionally, spiritually, everything. That He gives me that gift to see them as He created them to be. And so I'm always optimistic about people. I'm always encouraging and trying to, push people in the direction where they want to go. But one of the things I like to do when I talk about a lot of things is I tell them, hey, I'm in Chicago and Northwest Indiana. So I'll say, okay, let's say we want to go to California. What's the first thing you do? I always ask people, what's the first thing that you do? Some people say get gas. Some people say get snacks and all of that. But I'll say, after you do all of that, you put it in the GPS. And when you put it in the GPS, what do you put first? You put the destination first. When you put the destination, it then immediately draws a line back to where you are. It's the first thing you do. And why does it start there? Because by default, if it knows where you're going, I mean, if it knows where you want to be and it draws a line back to where you are, it limits the chances of you ending up somewhere else. If you just get in the car and just start driving, you're gonna wound up somewhere, and it may
Yeah.
be somewhere that you did not intend to be.
Yeah.
And so, my thing is everybody is going somewhere. Some people plan where they're going, and some people don't. And those people that don't are going to just wound up somewhere. And when you get there, it may not be where you want to be.
I say that.
I
I done
mean,
been there.
even the people that do
Yeah.
plan, they still may not end up where they want to be, but they have a better chance of hitting their target destination opposed to those that don't plan. And so you need faith and religion because you are going to wound up somewhere, whether it be spiritually, whether it be physically, whether it be mentally, it could be your health, it could be a number of things. If you have a destination for where you want to be and how you want to be and who you want to be, it makes it easier for you to then draw it back to where you are. And now it clearly outlines the steps of what to do to get there. Because otherwise, you're just trying stuff. I'm gonna make this turn. I'm gonna go straight down this road. I'm gonna make a right on this road. I'm gonna take this U-turn and then go there. You're gonna wound up somewhere, and it's gonna take you a lot longer to get there. You may not get there. I mean, there's so
Man.
many different factors and variables. But with faith and religion, like you both have said, it gives you a foundation, a standard, of values. Depending on what it is you believe in. So here's the thing: we all have faith. Like I said before, we all have faith towards
Hmm.
something. But if you don't point it in the right direction of where you want to go, you're just going to wound up somewhere. And so that's why I say it is not only needed, it's needed, it's essential, whatever we want to call it, it absolutely is. And if we don't find our way back to those things, hey, it's going to get darker and darker as the world already is. Um, and you will then lose hope. Things will get very bleak because we can see things are already going south as it is. But if you don't have a plan and an idea for yourself, you will mess around and succumb to the darkness that is coming. that is here, I should say, which is growing.
Now, what's dope about what you said with the Jeep message? Now you got me thinking about GPSs. What else is dope about your analogy is it shows you when you need it. It's a detour. Like it'll show you that if you stay here and you don't get off on this exit, it's going to take you 3 hours longer because
Yep,
there's been a
Yep.
car crash. Because I
yep.
remember when that happened to my GPS, I'm like, I told my, she was like, get off. I say, man, I know where I'm going, man. We was on there for 2 hours, bro. I'm like, oh, I should have got off. And that's why
Yep.
you need that faith in religion because sometimes it just shows you another way. You need to take a
Hmm.
detour and then you need to come back to this. Now, my final words, they actually do rhyme. I'm a poet. This is how I think. And you know what? It came from everything you guys said. And you need faith in religion because first you need connection. Now, what nobody tells you is you need connection. Spiritual things connect with spiritual things, whether it's evil or it's good. You need connection. You do. And we have to learn how to connect with other people more than we connect with them. We have to. Like he said, you can't be a role model, and it's no point in being a role model if nobody's going to follow you. Right? So you need connection. The second thing, I put affection because I do believe that love is divine. I do. I do believe that true love is something that supersedes what a human being is capable of doing at times. Like I remember the connection I had with my brother and the way he died, the affection that I had for him. I could have never been wrecked like that unless it was such a divine connection that it moved me to love him so much that it changed me. Y'all know what I'm saying? That this type of compassion moves you to other people. And that's the stuff that we need to experience in faith and religion. It also affects your perception because this standard affects how you see things. Period. Once I saw God and once I saw truth and once I saw these disciplines, it changed my perception of everything. It changed my perception of Steve and Garrett. It changed my perception of Mikal. It changed my perception of how I live. It just changed my perception. I realized that there was more to life than what I was living and that I had to come higher. I just had to come higher. I had my perception of what I was capable of increased. Both then I realized how evil I can be, but then I realized how good I could be at the same time. And it gave me a whole bunch of options that I never saw. I never saw the options that got presented to me. The fourth one, this the one I like the best. Protection. See, these standards for religion and faith actually give us protection. We think that it puts us in a prison. And as I'm talking about it, I'm getting convicted about some stuff right now that I can talk to y'all offline about, but it gives you protection. Faith and religion does give you some protection that you didn't have outside of it because it does affect the other areas and you start to make different choices. You start to choose things that you start to choose things that you should choose. And when those choices become better, your life gets better. I'm sorry. Even my life at its worst as a person who's come to knowledge of truth, even my life at its worst is better than how my life used to be. And it's giving me protection. Because I see that female over there and I'm not choosing her because I'm not supposed to do that, but it's protecting me. Girls getting pregnant before they get married. Protection. Y'all feel me, right? A lot of the things that we suffer from,
Beyond feel you, man.
man,
Yeah,
protection, bro.
absolutely.
It was protection. And the last one, I'm gonna end it because of Steve, what he said. Direction. Like when you got all of this stuff, you have direction. Like you choose certain things because you see the course that was already plotted. Like he said with the GPS, you get that direction because now faith and religion provides you with the schematic or a built-in roadmap, literally with a voice that talks to you while you're living your life and telling you if you want to get to blah blah blah, turn right. If you want to get turn left, and then if I'm too stupid to do it, he'll put something that I can't get by, so that I make the right he wants me to make anyway. Y'all know what I'm saying? Like, this is connection, affection, perception, protection, direction. I actually can do something with that. But I just want to tell, and I thank you guys for getting on here. Of course, we're gonna have another show right when I get off. Don't get right off, because we can set another date before we get off. But I just want y'all to know that I appreciate y'all getting on here, because this whole week, I'm not gonna lie to y'all. First of all, it's things about my own life that was frustrating me. But then it's just things about the world that was really getting under my skin, bro. When I just see the hopelessness and the helplessness and the things that people chase for fulfillment, and how we leave our kids out there to make decisions about their sexuality, and this a boy has to decide to be the man for his mama because he don't have a father. You do this stuff just crazy, man. It's crazy.
Man,
And like I say at the
it's definitely
beginning and
scary.
end of every show, I bless the mic because I got something to say. I rock headphones because I'm listening twice as much as I talk. I promise you, you will see these two men on the Blue Room podcast again. You know what? Click that subscribe button. You hit it if you want content like this. We will continue to challenge men in the areas of money, marriage, mental health, faith, and community. And guess what? I will see y'all on the Blue Room the next time, and you will probably see two of these guys on a lot of these shows. I thank y'all for coming, and I am out.